I think we're live.
Um,
As Dan,
yeah,
as
there it
Dan would
is.
say, we're live now.
Hi, everybody. Kevin Transu with my buddies John Schrader and Rene Rabbit. Dan is AWOL today as he's attending an important personal event. So we are going to do some discussing of artificial intelligence and looking forward to talking with you all about that. Feel free to comment, add your questions or thoughts along the way, and we will do our best to field them. It's really nice to see so many people popping in. Some names we haven't recognized before. That's pretty great. And we're always looking forward to you passing the word and adding to our attendance. I think I'll see where we're going here. So, and speaking to adding to our attendance, we are promoting. We are promoting our intermediate and advanced course, which is being held in Minnesota in December, the 11th and 12th for intermediate, which is a great course to either advance your skills to a degree that you'll be surprised about or to refresh some skills. And then should you choose to stay on or come for the second half, there is an advanced course that's following that on the 13th and 14th of December, which will push your skills to limits that you didn't know that you had. These are great courses if you can attend them. If you have attended them before, you know, and if you have not, ask someone who has, because resoundingly the answers are encouraging and positive, and we love to hear that. Mm-hmm. In addition, in March, we've got the big event. We've got our what's it called, guys? Help me out here. Total Immersion Summit. We've got the Total Immersion Summit that's coming March 1st to the 10th, and that is an event that we're trying to do annually now. We had a fantastic turnout at the last event, last 2 weeks of February. It was a great session, and we have several people who attended that who are coming back for seconds, and we'd love to see you there as well. That one is a very deep immersion. You're not only going to get the things that we typically can find a way to talk about in 2 days, but we have a total of about 5 or 6 days of class time in those. And we have an amazing amount of between class, after class, before class, evening time conversations and discussions that we take on and pursue everything from the technology of chief architect to the business of design and some of the things that are really pushing the envelope. Rene likes to dive into those with regard to things that are moving towards photorealism, rendering. We have all levels that we address in these, so feel free to chat with any of us about these and come see what you can learn at those. Sometimes what you find is that the conversations that take place out of the classroom are as important as those that take place in the classroom. There's a photo right there of me where I was mentoring a particular individual that brought amazing set of plans and asked me to go over them with her and critique them and talk about what really works, what was unnecessary, what could be done better, worse, whatever things that she could eliminate to improve her processes. This is just something that we just pulled aside and went out and talked about for an hour or so. And
yeah, important to note, you get some one-on-one time here.
Yeah,
you do. Yeah. It's not just a class. You definitely get some one-on-one.
And in a space like this, which is a very personal space, the house is enormous. It's made for events. It has 26 bedrooms or something like that. But because it is a home, there's all kinds of spaces that tuck away to go have conversations or private sessions or anything else that we choose to do. So we've had a lot of one-on-one sessions in these, and they're pretty wonderful. So anyway, we highly encourage you to consider this. It's an expense that you won't regret. It's pretty great. Let's see, what else can we talk about? We can talk about ourselves. John's business is Imagine Drafting, sorry. And John, what do you do for a living?
What do I do for a living? I do pretty much what Dan does. I coach people on using Chief Architect, and I help them finish their plans and do construction documents for people, help them with some design every now and then. So if you need some help, if you're swamped and you need some help catching up or something like that, give me a call. Or if you just want to learn Chief a little bit better, I can help you with that too.
John also is he is Dan's clone at these events, and spends a lot of time walking around helping people over their shoulders and helping them see the things that, or get a better idea of what they're seeing that Dan is presenting. So it works really great as a tag team effort. And speaking of tag teams, Rene, what do you do for a living?
I don't know, one day from the next. I am designer, drafter. I have individual clients in my area, and then I also help other designers and drafters do infill drafting, do infill design work, and then systems analysis, see if I can make your workflow faster. And then I sell products for that are add-on packages for Chief Architect. And yeah, that's it. And then I guess I do have a little bit of an announcement of my own. I have acquired the users of Chief Architect Facebook group. So I'm open to input. If people want to see a little bit of restructuring or how they like to see their content coming into some of these Facebook groups, I've got a heavy hand in most of the Facebook groups out there that are affiliated or associated with Chief Architect. So,
and don't you, and don't I understand that with that you're actually looking at some of those groups that exist now as far as a restructuring of those groups based on where you see the future taking you with all of the groups?
Yeah, let me kick my screen back on here for a second. I've had the Rabbit Design Feed Facebook group for a while, and that was largely catering specifically to Chief Architect content. But now that I've acquired the users of Chief Architect group, I'm restructuring this one to have more kind of influence from the architectural and business side and maybe design side and what's happening in the world and in terms of design. So you're going to see a lot more posts like this. I'm going to be posting worldwide competitions that are coming out and posting other people's YouTube channels and, maybe some information from those as well. So yeah, a bit of a restructuring there. And then the users group, we're just trying to get this to be a great resource, alongside the Chief Experts groups, kind of catering to the similar crowd. Chief Experts group, I think, is geared a lot more towards training, versus the users group is geared towards just answering specific questions and giving you, places to look for information about Chief Architect. So there you go. And then on top of that, I've been building out Discord servers to be another hub for information and content. So a lot of stuff going on in the social world.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and it's fun to watch what you're doing with it, and I'm actually pretty excited to see what the next 12 months brings in Rene's mind and see where things go. It's a wild place in there. I've gotten to spend some time trying to investigate his head, and it's chaotic. There's a lot in there. And I'm Kevin Transu, and my emphasis is in being a mentor to others as a design builder for about 2.5 decades, and then now moving into more just mentoring others, one-on-one assistance, one-to-group assistance. As some of you know, I love to speak, I love to talk, and I do a lot of that at the summit events. I get a chance to talk to people about things that are interesting to them, and it's been fun to explore. So if there are things having to do with your business, your design, your quandaries, I would love to talk with you about that. I've got a class that I'm preparing for now that I should be releasing sometime after the first of the year, starting to talk about that and the schedule that we can put together. That's going to be coordinated with Dan, and it's going to have to do with things that I know bother a lot of us, having to do with protecting our own. Any of you who have who have lived through the horror stories of seeing your work show up under someone else's name, or as happened to me one time, I went to City Hall to have an approval of a plan, and they said, "Oh yeah, the Jones job is starting." I see, that's great. I had no idea the Jones job was starting because I didn't submit it, but someone else did, and so we run into the issues about what happens if, and how do you protect yourself, and is there a way to, and does anything really work? So I'm going to be talking about a lot of those things sometime after the first of the year, and look forward to meeting you there. To get into today, now that the commercial break is over, we did a talk in Kansas City to a group called SEN. And that group was interested in learning more about artificial intelligence and how it would reshape their industry. The kitchen and bath industry specifically was what we addressed. And in that, they were really curious, as a lot of people are, about what does artificial intelligence mean to us directly? How is it going to affect us individually? So we went through a really nice presentation there and decided that we would repeat it here and see. Some of it may not be of interest of other things, and we may cruise right through that. Other things you may be fascinated with and ask questions, so please do.
And I got a question. I'm going to prompt you guys, because we're going to create some image based on those prompts that we'll show in just a little bit. So if I can get from both of you a little prompt. Kevin, I think you already had one in mind.
I did.
Give me a prompt for an image that I want to generate.
So, along the fascination with AI is the ability to generate things right out of our imagination. So I asked Rene, I'm asking you now, give me a residence restored from an urban building in an urban setting in a contemporary style with windows to the sky.
To the sky. To the sky. Okay. All right. Will do. And I'll start that up. And then, John, you got one for me?
I want a mid-century house, mid-century modern house.
Okay.
White on the boulevard.
On the boulevard. All right.
Yeah.
What is the boulevard for us younger people?
Isn't the boulevard kind of a separated street kind of thing,
Yes.
where it's got a
good job?
Got a median in the middle with trees and grass and all that kind of good stuff.
All right, got it. And we'll pop that up in a little bit. And
Perfect.
So just to get you kick-started, Kevin, we were invited to go out to a group called the SEN. I think it's just SEN. I don't know what else it is beside that. Yeah, the SEN group is they take the power of their membership, meaning that they're having a bunch of designers buy into a membership, and they take that purchasing power in order to get better deals on cabinetries. So a lot of these people are cabinet dealers. So they're getting, preferential deals on cabinets and fixtures and you name it. So they invited us to come out and talk about AI in the industry. And so we created a slide. So this slideshow is for that presentation, which already happened. And that was out in Kansas City, Missouri, where that's where you live, right, Kevin?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to navigate the slides for you.
Thank you.
And this is a good question. And you guys can just drop in the comments. Are you currently using AI?
And just as a shoot, what's it called? A teaser. You are. So every day you're using AI. You're using it for things that you may not recognize it under that name, even though everyone is currently plastering the letters AI onto anything that they're currently selling. But if you think about it, the search engines that you use, Google, Bing, any of those, anything, they're all using AI in order to determine answers to your questions and refine that search and go through AI algorithms that are determining, where things should show up in those search results. You're using them. You're using AI. Social media, heck yes. Anything that is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, and the algorithms that they use in order to curate the results that you see. You'll see a lot of people saying, AI's or Facebook's algorithm isn't showing me my friends or whatever. Yeah, it's all algorithms, and you're probably right. And there's probably reasons for it, though you may not agree with those reasons. Email management, tools like Google's Gmail or any of the other email services are using machine learning to deal with spam and filtering things out, categorizing things, showing them to you in ways that seem magical. Siri and Alexa and Google Assistant, those are using AI to understand what you're saying and give you results back, which is kind of fascinating when you think about it. It's all interpreting voice and dialect and everything else, and giving you back a result that to date is pretty interesting, usually frustrating. Lots of commercials created over the wrong answers being generated. I'm using one now that no matter what we see, Google's Assistant, Siri, or anything else, the voices seem very mechanical and robotic, and the answers are all over the board. And I'm using one now through ChatGPT's Audible interface that is allowing you to select the voices the conversational mode that you want to come back to you, the dialects, the person, the gender, whatever. But the conversation itself is amazingly human-like. So we've gone from something that was pretty darn cool in the form of Siri or Google, and we've gone now to something that is amazing. If you haven't tried it, fascinating. I literally find myself holding conversations with this voice that seems so human that I forget that I'm talking to a machine. So, that I'm saying that is amazing because that's on the horizon now. 6 months ago, when I did a talk on AI, it didn't exist. These things are happening so quickly now. So you're going to end up seeing those things replacing what we currently have and moving forward, expanding a lot more types of services. Things like your car rentals, your ride sharing, and your mapping, and all of those things. They're all AI, and you've been using them for a long time. Question is, I think. By the way, you can view this slideshow at chiefexpertsacademy.com/blog/AI on your favorite channel. On to the next.
And we're going to breeze past this, but Dan can't be with us here today. He's off. What is he on a reunion or something? I think.
Yeah, it's a reunion for old guys.
Okay. And there's me.
There's
and I'll leave this pin here just because we're going to show something funny with this picture later on.
And there's me. So if you haven't seen the Kevin Bot show up here and there, I tend to offer unsolicited advice, whether on Rene's channels.
So the Kevin Bot is built specifically to handle specific questions on a Discord channel, and so to automatically answer certain questions on the Discord channel. And then he also polls people for what content they might want. So he's a very nice robot.
And there's that commercial again. That is probably the most handsome view of Dan we've ever seen.
As a robot.
So, so when you think about AI now, the way that people are currently thinking about it, the concept of artificial intelligence was actually born in the 1950s, not under that name. That name became popularized, I think, in the early 60s or something, and was coined at that point. But there you go.
There you go.
There
right
it
there.
is. Okay. So Jeffrey Hinton is the godfather of AI. And although it seems like this was a very recent development, he started these concepts in the 1950s. It's an amazing journey that he's been on. But this man, if you have ever seen him speak on the topic, he's retired now. But if you have seen him speak, most recently, I think he did a 60 Minutes episode. You should check it out because it's enlightening. It's fascinating. It's a little terrifying. And here, the godfather of AI is addressing all of those points. But it's been around for 70 years in terms of the development of this. He spent his entire career in different modes working on this. So if you look at the timeline from the 1950s to the 60s to the 70s to the 80s, by the 80s, we were starting to think about decision trees and ensemble methods and how these things might be able to be developed into something that could resemble intelligence. By actually, what's not in there is in 1999, Kevin Trientzu wrote a white paper on artificial intelligence for the company that I was working for at the behest of the senior management. So here somebody had heard the term and came back and said, Kevin, tell us about this and where the future is. And I was writing about artificial intelligence in 1999. To me, that seems crazy looking back on that. It's a quarter century ago. By 2011, IBM's Watson won Jeopardy. We started seeing the rise of the chatbots, Siri and Alexa type things by 2014. You look at the time. Look at how the time is increasing speed now. By 2016, AlphaGo beats the world Go champion. By 2019, AlphaStar StarCraft was at a grandmaster level in its domain. And by 2020, we start seeing ChatGPT 3. By 23, we're starting to see everything from believably human voices to, oh my God, you can clone people and their own mothers don't know that it's not them. This is fascinating, and it's moving very, very quickly at this point.
There's a chess scandal that happened recently about the use of machine learning. So you can go check that. You can Google that one. That one's it's a little funny one.
Yeah. So now what we're seeing is that the snowball is rolling down the hill so fast that you need to find out whether you want to get out of the way of it, whether you want to jump on top and try to navigate that thing, or whether you're going to get run over by it. There are some really exciting things to pay attention to with AI. I think in February, I predicted that our industry would not be the same within 5 years, that it would be unrecognizable within 5 years. I've since changed that to 2 years because of the speed that things are growing. Maybe not unrecognizable in 2 years, but it's definitely going to be shifting gears, and we're going to start seeing some amazing abilities, just like what Rene was asking. Can you give me a prompt for something that you'd like to see? I got an assignment to restore a building into a residence in an urban community, and they want a contemporary style. All right. Well, by using artificial intelligence and an image tool to do something like that without telling it any more.
This is your contemporary right here.
Bring it up. It's a little tiny image right now.
I don't know that I can zoom, but I will in just a second. Yeah, here we go. So you got four different images out of that.
So without telling it anything more, now it didn't go out to the internet and search for pictures that seem to have those descriptors like what Siri would do or Alexa or whatever else. It generated those images based on millions of observations about what's possible in a scenario like that. And so as a creative tool, it's fascinating what you can do to possibly spur on your own ideas using artificial intelligence.
This is John's mid-century modern, and I'm going to change this car. We'll see what it does. But you can keep talking.
Okay. Well, I guess my curiosity got the best of me. I wanted to see what it did too.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. And then I told it to give me tan ostrich leather material and tile it so that it's seamless. So that's what it gave me. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You know, you would expect it to be able to find tan ostrich material. What would be curious is to, you know, see if you can do something that it wouldn't find, so that you know that it's really tough to accept the fact that it's generating this thing artificially. It really kind of feels like okay, it's finding that image somewhere, but you would never find, for instance, polka dotted, multicolored ostrich material. You know, so what happens if you try that? You know, does it do it, or does it get lost in that? Because who would do that?
So we could get really advanced in this mid journey, but we won't have time for this episode.
Right. But this is where the fun begins. This is where you get lost in it and end up waking up or getting up at 5 a.m. going, I should probably go to bed now.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, artificial intelligence, can you go back to that for just a second?
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence is going to help us become better and more intelligent and thoughtful in our communication. You've seen that. You also have to correct it a little bit or not hand things off, because people recognize artificial intelligence verbiage quite quickly. So there are tricks and techniques to be able to turn that into your own way of speaking and have it be more believable. But it does give us, it fills in the blanks for things that we may not know, may have forgotten, may be curious about. And it's a wonderful tool to improve that communication. Now on. So the most popular platforms that you hear about these days, although they're by far not the only ones, are ChatGPT, which was the one that came out of nowhere and caught everyone's attention. Bard, which is Google's approach to do the same. Bard is with Google behind the wheels. ChatGPT is operating pretty much on their own, although Microsoft has put a ton of money into the OpenAI company in order to promote that development. And Bing, which is Microsoft's browser with ChatGPT under the covers. So that's more of an interface to ChatGPT with some front-end training for how they want things presented.
Yeah.
So this is effectively, we decided to move into kind of an image question. But if we were using the large language model of ChatGPT, LLM in ChatGPT, which the newest version is called GPT-4, and it's easier to say than ChatGPT, so we'll go there. But something that is text-based, like GPT-4, can give us answers to questions conversationally or otherwise. I use it every single day and many times a day. Things like Rene was working with the image generation might be more here and there once in a while, unless you get really into that kind of things. But those are just the tip of the iceberg about what's possible. Do you have a text-based query up there, Rene?
Yeah, let's see. I had it write what was my initial discussion here? Write a typical FAQ, an FAQ for seeking and offering services. And we use this for the seeking and offering services Discord group that's attached to the users group. And it fashioned it in a way that it was questions and answers. And it did it very quickly. So that was one. And then let's see. And then I just had it say, I said, rewrite this to sound more concise. It's a rule for no personal messages or direct messages in a Facebook group. And I splattered something out there. The great thing about this is, I'm on a Windows platform. I know you're on a Mac. I'm sure you have the same capabilities. I can hit Windows and H together and say, write me an excerpt for a live video that's going to be on the presentation of the use of artificial intelligence with an architectural design software. And it's going to say, join us for an exciting live presentation on the application of artificial intelligence in architectural design software. Discovering how AI is revolutionizing the way architects and designers create, optimize, and visualize their projects. Don't miss the opportunity to explore the cutting edge advancements in the world of architecture and technology. Be part of the future of design. Tune in to our live video presentation. And you can tell it to truncate this. You can tell it to make it sound a little more buoyant, or you can tell it to sound like a robot if you want to, and it will adjust on the fly. And you can see how quickly that's done. So if you've never been on ChatGPT, you've been hiding under a rock. It's free. Go play around with it.
Yeah. And you can have some fun with it. I had it write my personal profile in the voice of Kurt Vonnegut. And that was really fun. And I didn't even give it my personal profile. I just let it go find the information about me. So there's some fun ways to play with it as well. Okay. So the things that we get into then is how might we use this? What do we see coming down the road? So if you look at our industry for design, sales, those kinds of things, this isn't quite where I was going with that thought. I'll finish my thought and let you address this, Rene. But if we look at where this is going for our industry, you can get the information that you want in surprising ways. I have asked it questions about the IRC, the code requirements. I've asked it questions about philosophy of design. I think that the point here is that you can find the answers to what pretty easily. Artificial intelligence, as of about a week ago, had not yet achieved the why. It had not achieved human level reasoning. So the point that I think the Godfather said was that if you look at the neural network that makes up a decision in our minds, that we might have a million paths, 10 million paths in our minds that we could follow, where artificial intelligence might be following a million paths. It's not yet ready to reason at the same point that humans do. But just within this past week, and I tried to find this link before I jumped on here, but couldn't, there was a company, I forget which one now, that has achieved human level reasoning in artificial intelligence. So that is really interesting in that it's able to process information as a human would, and therefore could possibly be competing with humans. This is the kind of thing that Hilton was saying that is the part that scares him about it, is that artificial intelligence doesn't have a conscience or a soul, but it has the ability to reason at the speed of a human. So how do we control it? And one of the fascinating parts about that is that all companies who are involved in artificial intelligence are trying to find ways to control it because it's moving that fast. So with all of the excitement, there's also some inherent challenges and fear that goes along with that. So I really do. I can't predict where our environment, where our industry is going to be in the next 2 to 5 years. But based on the speed that I'm seeing, I can predict that it is going to be different in a way that we can't even anticipate coming right now.
And I'm just going to leave these slides up for just a second. People can go back and rewind this show. And you can also obviously go check out the slides. We posted that link earlier.
Oh, this is kind of fun because this addresses some of the things that I was just talking about. Not the domination of humanity, but the idea that that our industry is changing. So if you look at just job evolution, things that artificial intelligence could take on quite handedly is to automate repetitive tasks, which is going to free up the opportunity for more complex, more skilled work. To be able to deal with quality and efficiency, where it's going to better the results of things, or role adaptation, where skilled workers can adapt to AI enhanced workflows, therefore producing new jobs. So there are going to be new roles and skills, everything from taking care of artificial intelligence to dealing with the data analysis, to ethics, which is kind of one of the parts that I was just talking about. So who's going to be responsible for AI and how it's used, or training it. Right now there's tons of opportunities out there for artificial intelligence trainers. They're looking for people whose heads work that direction and can possibly be feeding the data sources that these things use. And my God, they use a lot of data. I think a recent estimate I saw was that OpenAI, it costs them $700,000 a day to maintain artificial intelligence, the public access to artificial intelligence, a day. It's pretty interesting. And then you run into the parts of, okay, yeah, but it can't do, it can't craft a staircase. It can't do this or that. You could imagine that sooner or later, pieces and parts could be sort of built to snap into place. But for a lot of things, they are going to require human interaction no matter what. You can't get artificial intelligence to swing the hammer. So it's not going to replace all human jobs. It's going to augment them and provide new possibilities, which is going to provide a major shift in our world.
There's an interesting comment.
Yeah, I like that one. And
Yep.
I would agree. I think there is a market for that. There has always been a market for that, small business. People support it.
Yeah, I agree too. There was an article in Wall Street Journal, I think just today, that was talking about that very thing, old school design. And I, definitely believe that we can generate all the pretties that we want, but there's still going to be the first-time home buyer looking to buy something affordable on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, a split level, sitting on a small lot, and while you could tell artificial intelligence to generate 100 plans that satisfy that, it doesn't replace the idea that I need to talk to the human and understand their needs and provide for them what they need for their specific lifestyle.
Oh, this is me.
Here's an example of what happens if. So in this particular case, you're using an AI model, which is just a mathematical representation of the process. It's just that. And through a prompt, you can combine different ideas and styles. This particular one is combining Escher and Gaudi. So you're taking something that's impossible and combining it with something that's gaudy. And in so doing, you end up with that thing on the right. If you look at any of these images that are generated of structures, you'll see sometimes that if you were a designer looking at that, you'd say, there's no way you can transition between rooms in that space. Okay, it looks interesting from the outside. If you look at it there's a site that does kind of femme fatale imagery. It's just phenomenally gorgeous, beautiful women that are unbelievably so. The interesting part about that is all those things are true. They are gorgeous, but they're unbelievably so. And if you look at them, there's nobody who actually looks that way. They almost look surreal. And every once in a while, you'll see, one of those images that looks very believable. And then if you count her fingers, she's got 6 fingers.
Yeah.
So things aren't quite right.
Common joke. Yeah. My name is Inigo Montoya. 6-fingered man. I think this was actually my first Midjourney prompt.
That one was?
Yeah,
nice.
I think it was.
You did that.
So, yeah, we threw that one in there. I guess I will comment a couple things. You are going to hear the term model. The model, well, we give the definition right there, but it's basically what we're training that particular AI platform on. Is we're going to train it on a model, and it's a model of data. So we're looking at a subset of data. We can't just train it on all data in the world. That wouldn't make any sense. You'd have a lot of confliction there. It's nice to give precise data that might give us clean results, which brings me to another point. And this is just my opinion, but I think that most data comes from large publishers, and large publishers will only publish data to the limit of what they are accepting as their liability. So if you ask it how to change out an outlet, it's going to tell you it's a 24-hour process where you got to contact an electrician, you got to go get a permit, and you got to do all kinds of crazy things. Whereas if you asked me how to change out an outlet, I would do it in 5 minutes, and I'd do it live because I'm a dummy and I don't mind getting shocked. So there's the data that we're pulling from. So AI is never going to replace someone's, hard-earned technical experience from being in a field, and it's their expertise, because that information doesn't typically get published onto the internet, and that's where we're getting the information subset from. So some things to think about in terms of that. So here's a model. The prompt is what we're telling a particular engine to load into the model and produce what we need, which is, our text or image base or whatever it may be. So there is there's a lot of jobs out there, not only for people that are creating models and generating that data, but also for people that are really experienced and excellent at prompting. And it's called a prompt technician. And it's very prevalent in the San Francisco Bay Area right now, as they're looking for people that know how to prompt in order to get the results they need in an efficient way. So, and after you've played with it for a while, you'll see that there is a big divide there between your experience level and what you're getting versus what you want to get out of that system.
Yeah, practice makes perfect. You really do have to spend some time, but you can. One of the nice things is you can tweak your queries when it comes up with something that was, well, that wasn't at all what I meant. Well, then you've asked it the wrong thing. If it comes close, you can start to tweak it. Did you ever get a result for the change out of that Thunderbird or whatever it was sitting in the driveway?
Oh, I did, and it didn't come out well, and I know why. So that's a great point. Yeah, it's still a Thunderbird in the driveway, right? And that's specifically because I left the old prompt in place. So here we go. There's that outline, and I left everything in place, that mid-century modern part. I think I just needed to say truck. And we'll see what happens. We'll have to come back to that. So
well, there you go. And that's what I'm saying is sometimes you look at it and say, okay, that was, I didn't get what I wanted, therefore I asked the wrong question.
Yeah. So here's that slide on becoming a prompt engineer and the difference between something that would be a less effective prompt, give me a house in the jungle, versus give me a modern house in a tropical forest in the style of someone, and and giving more detail. So in my Discord, there is even a robot to help you create a more effective prompt, believe it or not. So we're using AI to generate better AI generations. So kind of a compounding effect.
Yeah.
The next slide. So here you go. This is, again, this is like coming back to even character development or building things in a specific way that you wanted to, respond in a specific way. So I gave custom instructions. Answer the following question as if you were Yoda from Star Wars. So that's kind of a funny one, but a negative prompt is when we're, well, it's right here on the screen. Negative prompt is a directive given to an AI system specifying what it should avoid or exclude in its output. So describe a landscape, but do not mention any bodies of water. So that's, sometimes we want to remove a potential answer from a prompt, right? So there's negative prompting as well, and there's a whole bunch of tricks. What's that?
Were you attempting to show that on the screen? That didn't come across if you were.
Oh, a negative prompt? No, I didn't have an example of that.
Okay,
but it would be that if you are prompting and you're continuously getting an aspect of the prompt's generation is coming back that you don't want, then you can actually give it a negative prompt. And every platform has a different way of initiating that negative prompt. So certain platforms have a very specific way to do that. Others are just text-based, and you can just say, do not include such and such. So that image of Yoda was actually generated in Midjourney, and it was Yoda in a kitchen. That was pretty much what the prompt was. So this was a couple of examples of what you might use. And I mean, I came from being trained in contract writing, and I went to the only school I went to at all was I did take a contract class, and that was to get my general contractor's license, and I've always had an interest in contract writing. So I feel very comfortable getting ChatGPT to write me clauses for my contracts. But someone else posted here, which was a great question. I'm going to see if I can't find that post and pin it real quick. Here we go. How can you be sure that the answer that AI generates is fact-based? And you can read the rest of that comment. It's kind of funny, but it's true. You have to go check on this information because it's not always correct. So I use AI in the sense that, hey, this is a friend that might know the answer. Like, have you ever seen those game shows where it's phone a friend? That's how I look at AI. It's like, I'm gonna phone a friend and, hey, you know where I can, go for this answer and what it might be.
And you still have to choose whether or not to use that answer to win your $1 million. But
yeah, exactly. And you might be like that lawyer that almost got disbarred.
Right.
That's pretty funny. It's not funny, but so I use it to write contract clauses. That's just an example. I use it to write info briefs to my clients. There's all kinds of reasons. Emails, and so there's email integrations. We're going to get into that in a second. This is a great one in the design world for me. I don't manage to keep the catalog of architectural styles in my mind. I just never have been able to. And so it's very useful for me to take a picture. So this is just, assume you're at a client's house. You take a picture of the front of the house and you can load this into ChatGPT now and tell it to tell you what architectural style it is. So in this case, it's saying that it's French Chateau architectural style. And now I'm going to take that information and I want to do ideation. I'm going to tell it to produce me, hey, a French Chateau style kitchen. And that's specifically just to spark some ideas, because that's the job I was tasked with, is, a French kitchen. So the next part from this is I can take that same image it just produced and load it back in to Midjourney and tell it to describe the image I just gave. Now, it doesn't know its history. It doesn't know that it generated that image in the first place. It is now looking at the image, analyzing it, and telling you how it would have described that image. And so it gave me this description. I then load that description back into Midjourney and tell it to produce new kitchens based on that description. And you'll see here we got one fuzzy box. This is kind of what's happening is when it's generating, it has a bunch of noise, and the AI is determining what each pixel should be based on the prompt that you've given it. So this is what it's looking like as it's kind of figuring out its your query. We've got a couple of comments here. I see the chat board punching off. Anything we got to address?
I have to admit, I was fascinatingly listening to you talk, and I wasn't reading the comments. So
okay, I'm going to let you touch on this. Do you know anything about Grammarly? This was actually Dan's slide, so I know he uses it every day.
I use it. I don't use it as much as Dan does. I'm pretty good with grammar, and therefore I don't turn to it. But for those who could use some help, it is pretty fascinating. Grammarly is it may be subscription based. I think the only things I've ever used were free, but it can make corrections to whatever you're writing and suggest alternatives to the way that you're phrasing something so that it sounds more professional or whatever else. That's about all I know about it.
Yeah.
I usually use it just to double check my work.
I think his is live and integrated into his browser. So as he's even typing anywhere, it's just offering suggestions and better grammar, I guess. And then I'll pin this comment from Vicky. We live on the internet, banking, shopping, communication. What happens when there's a huge solar flare or other catastrophe and the internet is down, dead, and gone? Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, I was going to say, should that happen, so are we.
I think that the there are quite a few satellites that get past that. I mean, it depends on the catastrophe. Mild catastrophe, I think we'd be just fine because a lot of the satellites there are just in orbit, and those are still feeding data, and we have old radio frequency setups as fail-safes. So yeah, I couldn't speak too much to that. I'm probably going to get flagged somehow and have my internet shut down now.
You do have to be careful what you say anymore.
Yeah, no, you really do have to do some fact checking. I have done some ChatGPT work where we're looking up electrical code, and you have to know what you're doing a little bit to just fact check on what it's feeding back to you.
Yeah, I do that quite a bit. I'll read something and say, no, that's not correct. I was even asking ChatGPT to tell me about ChatGPT and the advances and things, and it started referring to things in versions past. And I was, no, that's not what I'm asking. So you do have to watch it. Now, that said, as I said earlier, it continues to improve at exponential speed. So I suspect it's going to do nothing but get better.
Naive question, you say AI is free. However, do we need to download an app such as ChatGPT? ChatGPT is, it's OpenAI is the platform, and ChatGPT is on OpenAI's website, and that portion is free. There is a paid version of that, which I pay for, and that gives you some additional features. So you can go check that out. And that's a good question.
I do the same. One of those features is the ability to peruse other websites. It can look for the websites that seem to satisfy its goals, or you can give it websites to peruse. But one of those, the idea of expanding GPT-4 to be able to do these other things only comes at the $20 a month subscription cost. But the basic GPT, ChatGPT 3.5, is freely available. It's still, all of them, I suppose, are still categorized as experimental. So they're basically they're disclaiming their accuracy right off the bat, but at least it's free disclaimed accuracy.
Yeah. I'm going to stop on this side because, well, one, I was trolling some people, but two was that I needed to do some image generation that had the same look and style. And so part of image generation and actually anything that's AI based is that we typically have a seed number, and the seed number is think of it as a random path in search of your query along a model. But that random path has a static number, and we can take that static number and generate a new prompt using that same static number, which would be a seed. So I was able to generate two different images, but they are in a like style because I was able to generate them along the same seed within the same model. So that's the point here, is I wanted something that looked similar to the other. And then this is just showing the power of stable diffusion with ControlNet. And I think this is the future of architectural ideation and renderings, is we're taking a vector line drawing straight up from Chief Architect, or a pencil drawing if you want. And from there, ControlNet is the aspect of that that's making this work, is those pencil lines become boundaries. And so now we're fitting AI-based algorithms within those pencil lines. So we have the basic structure intact here, and we're generating images based on that pencil drawing. You can see here, these all look pretty similar, but with completely different styles. And so these are all different prompts, but they're using that pencil line drawing or vector line drawing as that control, so that we're staying within those parameters. And that's a really powerful setup. So this is stable diffusion with ControlNet.
And John, didn't you use Stable Diffusion to generate the background that you're sitting in front of right now?
I did. It took a minute.
Took a minute.
Yep. Can we pin him up on this? Yeah, we get him right here. There we go. Look at that. Yeah, it took 1 minute.
1 minute.
1 minute. Yeah. This
I asked for a cozy cabin, and that's what it gave me.
Cozy cabin
in the mountains.
This is this for me is a big one, and I know Dan uses something similar. This is Merlin, and this integrates into my Chrome web browser, and Merlin does a ton of things. One, it will give me edits, kind of like Grammarly does, but the other thing is it will summarize a video even before it's done processing, and these are just headings, and you have subheadings where it's actually describing what's happening there. So as YouTube's transcribing the video, then Merlin is sitting there and accessing that transcription and then summarizing it for me. And I can then take these headings to create chapters in my YouTube video. But the greater aspect of this is, if you're someone with a short attention span and you need to go look at a video and find a specific part of it very quickly, this Merlin extension is just doing that for me. Is I only wanted to see this one part of this video using image editing tools. There you go. So that's a pretty good one. Merlin also helps me write emails. So I'll tell it to paraphrase and miss a couple prepositions, and it'll do that for me. And then we got to move through these slides pretty quick because we only got 5 minutes. But digital AI upscaling, I use an application called Topaz Labs, but there's plenty of these kinds of applications out there where we're taking an image that, this is kind of hard to translate on the video feed, but this image is, it's a little fuzzy on the left, and then it digitally is upscaled on the right-hand side. So, and I'll give you another example of this. This is one of my favorites. This is a very, very old picture of my mom and I. And then on the right-hand side, this is after it's been digitally upscaled. So, and this absolutely looks like me and my mom. So it did a very good job here, which is cool because I've been tasked with, upscaling a bunch of old photographs of old family members now. And it's kind of a fun project.
You asked for that one.
Yeah. I did. I volunteered for it, and it happened on Thanksgiving, and I was like, give me it. I want it. This is fun. So this video takes a little bit of loading to get going, but this is showing not only can we digitally upscale imagery, but we can digitally upscale videos as well. So on the left-hand side, this is 7 frames a second. And on the right-hand side, and even though it's glitching right now, this is at 50 frames a second, and it's upscaled its resolution 3.5 times. And on top of that, done some color grading.
And the part that's interesting about that is you didn't use the source of the video. You used the video on the left and had it upscale that video.
Yes. So the video on the left was put through Topaz Labs Video AI, which is a very expensive program, mind you. And then it interpolated in between individual frames. So only 7 frames a second, that's not much in a 10-second video, 70 frames. And it interpolated frames to add 43 frames in between each second. So that's pretty impressive. And it does a great job. So you go from rendering for over 24 hours to suddenly you're just rendering in, that takes me about 30 minutes. And that particular application will use as many graphics cards as you can throw at it. So I have 3 graphics cards on one system. And so it just files through that so quickly. So it's really impactful to get these short videos because you really don't see it on the market because it takes, typically 24 hours to produce a video like that. And I know we're moving fast. I'm just trying to fit all this stuff in here. This is using outpainting, which you may have heard of or not. The original image is actually cropped to about 16:9, so we don't actually see, we only see a portion of this style right here, and we don't see all these bottles on the left, right where it's fuzzy. So this is generatively outpainting additional pixels outside of the original image. So it's using AI to figure out, hey, what might be there. And then on top of that, it's using a neural network to fake a bokeh effect, whereas this was shot with a wide open aperture. We're shooting at f/22, and now it looks more like f/1.4, f-stop 1.4, where we've got this bokeh in the foreground and we're got a laser focus on the background. So this is an old image that's being brought back and kind of being introduced as, a new habit in imagery. Again, what was the app or program John used for this cozy cabin? He used Midjourney Stable. You used Stable Diffusion.
Stable Diffusion, yeah, just the free version. I just tried it when I saw it today. So
okay. And this one's a funny one for me. So we now have generative facial gestures, believe it or not. And this is subtle. This is very subtle, but you can see here, I have a very crooked mouth. And so the neural networks don't know that about me from one image. They're only guessing, but I told it to make me smile maybe just a little bit more. And then you can see it just kind of lifted one side of my cheek a little bit and showed a little bit more of my teeth, which don't quite look like that. I have more bunny looking teeth, but this is pretty funny because you can, on the fly, you can make someone smile or frown or look shocked or surprised. And
this is this is how the what you're seeing just pummeling you on Facebook, where it's showing how you can take any image and make the dancing baby or whatever. This is how that's
exactly. Done. So and this is only getting better over time. So it's funny, you can take an image of you where you're not smiling in a photo and make you smile all of a sudden. So keep frowning in your photos, you'll be just fine. It's
going to work well to correct those family photos that you've always got one person that's looking the other way or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. There's just another point to that link that you can look at this slideshow if you'd like. And
I think we made it.
Yeah, I think we made it. Cool.
Are we out of time?
We're almost there. I was going to see, look at this. I got a truck. I got some trucks there. There we go.
That's good. That's exactly what I was looking for, Rene.
Yeah.
Did you mean a really big truck?
Yeah, I guess I needed to specify, huh?
That's good.
Isabella asked a question: if any of us do workshops, you want to just go over the trainings we have coming up again?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So from a technical chief architect standpoint, we have a couple of workshops in Minnesota in December. Those are on the 11th and 12th for intermediate study, and on the 13th and 14th for advanced, or stay for all 4 days if you choose. So those are very quickly, those are specifically chief architect and are the traditional training that we have done periodically. We also have our summit that comes up in March 1st to the 10th, which is out on the Outer Banks and at a very beautiful event home, 24-bedroom home or something like that. That works quite well for those events, and that's coming up March 1st to 10th. That's a deep immersion into everything having to do with architectural design, chief architect, the business of design, advanced technologies, everything you can think of, plus a lot of one-on-one time with anybody that you choose. In addition, John offers his services as part of Imagine Design to both coach on chief architect and also to provide drafting services. Rene offers his services for everything from advanced rendering to education to casual conversations about irrelevant life. I offer my services to mentor small businesses, whether they are interior design, architectural design, or other, and help learn some of the things that I've learned over the past 2.5 decades as a design build owner. And that is the 4 of us. Dan, of course, you know what he does. So yes, please contact any of us as you see fit. We'd love to talk with you about whatever your needs are and see if we can help.
And again, we saw a lot of new names on here today. So welcome, everybody. Hope to see you again.
That was great. We had a nice crowd today. We had a nice crowd. Good talking to everybody. Are we ready to wrap up? We are. Yep. Okay.
We're out of here.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for your attention. We'll see you next time. Have a good, what is it? We're going to have a good holiday. No, we're going to have another one. We've got another one on the 18th, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.